walked into my life like a summer storm, beautiful and dangerous, and possibly warm. Her smile could light a room, her laugh could heal, but behind her eyes, something cold and real. I didn't know then what I know now, that every argument would take a different vow. I'd say I'm sorry, I forgot to call. She'd hear you mean nothing to me at all. The first year was gentle, the second year cracked. The third year I learned to watch my every act. But one wrong word could open a door to a man who'd hurt her long before. I was fighting ghosts I'd never met, paying debts I never let. She said you're safe, but held me like a threat. And I became the man she couldn't forget to punish. I didn't know I was inheriting her past, every fight a landmine built to last. I'm living in the present, she's drowning in the then. I didn't start the fire, but I'm burning in it again and again. Inheriting the past, a war I never signed. Loving her means carrying damage that isn't mine. Inheriting the past, the sins of other men. She made me pay for what they did, and I stayed until the end. Her father left when she was only 7. Her first love broke her trust at 21. Her second introduced her to her own version of hell. And now I'm the one who has to clean the well. But you can't clean a well that's still collapsing. You can't love someone out of their own trapping. She needs a shovel, not a husband's chest. But she gave me the weight instead. History doesn't charge a fee, it charges everything you have until you're empty, until you're sad. I didn't know, now I know. Inheriting the past means watching your own future go slow. I remember the night I raised my voice, not in anger, just in tired noise. We'd been arguing for 3 hours straight about something small, about something I can't remember today. But she looked at me like I struck her face, said, "You're just like him, you're a disgrace." I stood there frozen, confused, ashamed. I'd never hit her, never even called her a name. Another time I asked for space to think. She said, "You're pulling away, you're on the brink of doing what they all do, leave me cold." And I stayed because her story was so old. But I wasn't them, I was only me. I wasn't the man who made her bleed. I was the man who made her tea at night, who held her hair when she got sick, who turned off the light. I'm sentenced for someone else's crime, doing life for a man I never met. She's triggered by the ghost of another time, and I'm paying off his old debt. I asked for boundaries, she said control. I asked for honesty, she said you're cruel. She's not judging me for my own soul, she's judging me for the men who played her for a fool. Sentenced for someone else's crime, and I never even met the man doing time. I tried to explain, I'm not your ex. She said that's exactly what he said in the text. It's the same, the tone is the same, the walk, the breath. And I realized I was already sentenced to death. Not because of what I've done, but because of a war she hadn't won. I was standing in a courtroom of her mind, with no lawyer, no witness, no defense of any kind. No man wins a case he didn't commit, so why am I standing in his trial, bit by bit? Sentenced for someone else's crime, I'm doing time I never signed. And the real criminal, he's free, and she's still looking at me. She sat across from me at dinner one night. Told me the story of her ex, the fight. He was cruel, he was cold, he was never there. And I nodded, believing every tear. But then she mentioned the one before and the one before that, and a few even more. Same story, same villain, same tragic end. She was the victim, he was the pretend. I started to notice the pattern, the thread. The same type of man, same type of dread. The brooding artist, the unavailable ghost. The one she chased, the one who hurt her most. And I thought, am I next in this line? Am I just the latest name on her broken shrine? She says she wants different, but she chooses the same. Then blames the universe for her pain. The repetition machine keeps running all night. She calls it bad luck, but it's never quite right. Trauma unhealed becomes a second skin, and identity defended keeps the cycle in. The same patterns, same outcomes, same tears. She's been repeating for 20 years. She says, why does this always happen to me? Because she's the common denominator, and she won't see. I tried to show her the mirror gently. She cracked it and said, you're judging me. I said, I'm not judging, I'm asking you to look. She said, I already looked, I read the book. But looking isn't seeing, and seeing isn't change. She's comfortable inside her familiar pain, because healing would mean letting go of the story, and her story is her only territory. She pulls the plug, but she loves the noise. She loves the talk, the repetition machine. I'm getting off this train. I'm not her next chapter, I'm not her next refrain. The first year, she leaned on me like a child, said, you're the only one who makes me feel mild. the only one who sees the real me. And I felt like a hero, like I was the key. I listened to her stories at 2 a.m. about the father who left, the men who condemned. I held her hand, I wiped her tears. I thought I was healing her childhood fears. But the second year, something quietly shifted. The more I helped, the more she drifted. I'd suggest a therapist, a book, a walk. She'd say, you're trying to fix me, you're just like my ex's talk. I stopped suggesting, just stayed by her side. She said, you've changed, you're cold inside. I tried to lead her gently toward the light. She punched at the dark and called it a fight. Comfort inside, the wound is where she lives. And every hand that pulls just takes and takes and gives. She doesn't want the door, she wants the ache. And I'm the enemy for trying to shake her awake. She says, hold me, but she means hold the pain. She says, help me, but she means stay in the rain. Comfort inside the wound, she's built a home. And I'm the intruder for asking her to roam. I finally asked her, what do you really want? She said, I want you to see my home and stay there with me forever inside. And that was the moment my hope died. Because I realized she didn't want to heal, she wanted company in the ordeal. She wanted a witness to her suffering, not a guide. And I can't live forever where the sun is denied. You can't save someone who loves the drowning. You can't wake someone who's married to the frowning. Comfort inside the wound, I'm learning to leave her there. Not because I don't love her, because I love my own air. I forgot to buy milk on the way home. You'd think I'd confessed to a crime in Rome. She cried for 2 hours, slammed the door, said you never listen, you never adore. stood there holding the empty bag, feeling like a criminal, feeling like a hag. I didn't understand what I'd done so wrong. Then I realized the milk was just gone. For a symphony of pain from years ago, from a man who forgot her, who left her low. I wasn't buying milk, I was buying a trigger, and I was standing for the man who made her figure. Another time I came home 5 minutes late. She was sitting in the dark, staring at fate. You're cheating, I know it, I feel it in my bones. I showed her my phone, my location, my tones. She said, you could have left it at work. And I realized I was fighting the ghost of quirk, of a man who actually did cheat, who actually lied. And I was paying for his sins with my own pride. Managing reactions, not reality. Walking on eggshells, losing my sanity. Every word away, every step planned. This is not love, this is a one-man band. Her emotions override what's actually true, and I'm drowning in a storm I never blew. I'm not a firefighter for her past to breathe. I'm just a man who wanted her to see me. I started keeping a journal of events so I could prove my innocence. I did this, I said that, see the date. But you can't lie, took someone out of a state that was never based on logic in the first place. She's not reacting to me, she's reacting to his face. And I'm exhausted from the constant defense, from proving I'm not the man who sat on her fence. You can't argue with a wound, you can only bleed with it. And I've bled enough, managing reactions, not reality. I'm done walking on a shattered glass. I'm gonna find a field where the grass is green and real, doesn't remind her of his heel. Lashed out again last night around 10. Called me every name and fell asleep, and then woke up this morning with a soft "I'm sorry, love" Said, you know I've been through a lot, push comes to shove. I nodded because that's what I always do. I swallowed the pain, I played the good soldier too. But inside, something was cracking apart. The accumulation of all those darts. I've been through a lot, became a shield for every wound she'd refused to heal. She'd hurt me, then explain why, as if the reason made the arrow fly. Any less sharp, any less deep, but a reason isn't a promise to keep. A reason isn't an apology real. It's just a bandage on a wheel that keeps spinning the same old story of her pain's false glory. She bleeds on me, then blames me for the blood. Says, you knew I was broken, you knew the flood. Compassion without boundaries is slow suicide. I'm tired of being her emotional rat, bleeding on me like I'm the one who cut her skin, and then apologizing so she can get back in. But the cuts are real and the scars don't fade, and I've been through a lot. It's a game she's played. I started pulling back, protecting my chest. She noticed and said, you're cruel at best. You used to hold me, now you turn away. I said, because I'm bleeding too, every day. She looked confused, as if the thought that I had wounds had never crossed her plot. She sees herself as the only victim, and I'm just the furniture she leaned on when she picked them. Understanding doesn't stop the cut, it only explains why my heart is shut, bleeding on me no more. I'm not her handkerchief, I'm not her door. I'm a man with my own blood to keep, and I'm done being her emotion deep. I want to talk about next summer's trip. She wants to talk about her father's slip. I want to save for a house with a yard, She wants to analyze how he made her feel hard. I'm looking forward, she's looking back. I'm building a future, she's unpacking a sack of grievances from 1994. And I'm the one who has to clean the floor. Every conversation circles the drain of her past, her trauma, her unending pain. I say, what about us? What about now? She says, you don't listen, you don't know how. But I've listened for years, I've heard every name of every man who caused her shame. But where do I fit in this story of hers? Am I just a chapter, or am I the word? Dragging yesterday's weight, I'm breaking into. I can't build a tomorrow with someone who's glued to the trauma, the tragedy, the old wound. She's living where my hope cannot bloom. I'm pulling her forward, she's pulling me back. And eventually my own tracks will crack. She says, you promised to stay through thick and thin. But thick and thin isn't her past's twin. I'm not asking her to forget, I'm asking her to walk, to put one foot in front of the other, to talk about a future that doesn't have his face, to build a home in a different place. But she's addicted to the rearview mirror, believes that if she stops looking, the past will grow clearer. Except it won't, it will just stay, and I'll be a ghost in her yesterday. I'm not a hero, I'm not a saint, I'm a man who's tired of carrying dead weight, dragging yesterday's weight. I'm letting go now, it's too late. I wish her healing, I wish her peace, but I'm not her pack mule, I'm not her release. Looked at me with those big wounded eyes, said, fix me please, I need your size. You're the only one who understands my dark, and I wanted to be the man, to be the spark. So I stayed up late researched every turn, read about attachment, about the worm that turns in her gut when she feels alone. I became a therapist, her stepping stone. I gave her books, I found her names of professionals who could help with her flames. She put them on the shelf, said you're all I need, said your love is the only medicine that feeds. But I'm not a doctor, I'm not a licensed healer, I'm a man who's growing colder, meaner, because loving her means pouring from an empty cup. And every day I'm getting closer to giving up. Love is not therapy, I'm not a rehabilitation center. I can support, I can care, I can try to enter, but I cannot fix what she refuses to face. I cannot heal her at the expense of my own grace. She has to want the work, she has to break the chain, or I'll drown trying to teach her to swim in her own pain. Love is not therapy, it's a meeting of two wholes, not one broken person trying to fix the other's holes. I finally said, I can't be your cure. She looked at me like I declared a war. But you said you loved me, you said you'd stay. Loving you doesn't mean I have to fade away. She didn't understand, she couldn't see that her healing was never supposed to be my fee. I'm a partner, not a project, and I'm ending this subject. Center, and a woman who won't walk, won't enter. Love is not therapy, I'm not a doctor, I'm not her diary. I'm just a man who wanted a wife, not a lifelong emergency. I stayed for years because I saw the woman she could be, not the one she was. I loved her potential more than her present, and that's a prison sentence. I'm learning it's unpleasant. I thought if I just loved her hard enough, she'd drop her armor, she'd drop her tough. But you can't love someone into a version of themselves that they haven't chosen from their own shells. I made a list of what I actually had, not what I hoped for, not what made me glad. The list was short, the list was cold. She showed me who she was, I didn't hold. The truth in my hands, I pushed it away. Said she'll change, just give her one more day. The days became months, months became years, and I became the curator of her fears. Choose peace over potential every single time. Don't marry the blueprint, marry the design. She showed me who she was, I didn't believe my eyes, I believed my hope, and that was my demise. Choose peace over potential. The woman who's healed shows up to love without a battlefield. She doesn't need you to rescue her from her past. She's already done the work, she's already made it last. So now I'm sitting here, older and wiser, with less anger and more of a divider between what I dreamed and what was real. And I'm learning how to finally feel my own heartbeat, my own peace. I'm not a rehab center, not a priest. I'm a man who wants a quiet life, not a partner who's a walking knife. Not angry, just finished, not bitter, just clear the wounded woman. I wish her well, but far from here. I hope she finds her healing, I hope she finds her way, but I won't be the one to lead her. Not another day. Choose peace over potential. I finally chose myself, and my chest feels lighter. I'm putting the chain reaction back on someone else's shelf.